Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we talk about our favorite video games and all things pop culture with an emphasis on our favorites. I'm your host, Jared, and our guest today is Skye Deva St. Bennett. Skye is an energetic and infectious alt-rock pop soloist. Her unbridled chameleonic writing paired with addictive production and powerful vocals has made her an artist hotly tipped by many in the industry as someone to watch. She's been an actor since she was 10. She produces, directs, edits all of her music videos, and is developing a TV series. She's currently writing the first series in novel form, in the hopes that she can publish it and drum up some industry intrigue for the project. She also produces and engineers music and has studied at Abbey Road from 2023 to 24 and got a diploma for it. She is also the voice of Pyra and Mithra in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torn of the Golden Country, Amy in Dead Island 2, and Lissy in Dragon. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at Raz-Show Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. And with all that being said,
it's Razzle Dazzle time!
Hello, Skye. Thank you so much for being on the show. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Like I said earlier, if I was doing any better, I'd have to hire somebody to help me enjoy it. I am so happy that you're here, and I'm like gonna struggle throughout this whole time, this whole conversation, to keep my excitement like at a normal level, but it's gonna be hard. Anyways, a quick Kickstarter. Tomorrow you have a roller derby game, right? Is that still going?
I mean, yeah, it is, but roller derby on, I guess, the 6th of May, if it's coming out.
No, I mean like today, as in like when, like right now, actually right now.
Oh, I mean, I'm seeing derby. Yeah, I'm going to roller derby tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what...
Sorry.
No,
I thought you meant like at the time that we released this.
Right.
I'm like, God, I haven't planned my life that far ahead, dude.
So you're into roller derby, clearly, right? And you've also ice skated since you were a kid. I just wanted to know, like, a little bit about that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, my first dream was to become an Olympic figure skater. I quickly learned that I didn't really have the discipline for that. But I got into it when I was about 5, I think. My parents put me in it just because I was a very active kid, and I also loved dancing and performing, and figure skating kind of melds those two things together. And my favorite part of it, I was a free skater, which is like the jumping and the spinning and flinging yourself around. And I love doing that. I learned how to bounce really early on. I'm covered in scars from when I've kicked myself, and bruises and bumps. But it was a lot of fun, and I competed until I was in my mid-teens, and I quickly kind of moved away from skating when the acting started taking off. I had less time for it, and I think when you're a teenager, you do also kind of, you're learning about yourself and what you like, and I was more interested in my friends and lions, and I wasn't that keen on getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning as much.
Right.
But, you change.
Of course.
But going back to roller derby and going back to skating, in my late 20s, I've really enjoyed being active again, and particularly with a bunch of people, like-minded individuals, and just cool people, and it's a contact sport, so it's not for the faint of heart. It's a really fun time. And that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I ice skated a bit when I was in Miami. It's a weird place to skate, since it's hot. The only ice rink within like the city or whatever. But I found it fun. I think it's a lot easier than like rollerblading. I've tried rollerblading too, and like my earliest memory of that was in middle school.
Right.
It was at one of my friends' birthday party. It was at a roller rink, and I feel so bad because before I even got to the actual rink, like I put on I put on the skates, and it wasn't blades, it was like the four, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. Oh, what, like the quad skate?
Yeah, the quads.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was putting those on. I was making my way, and I just busted my ass so bad that like I really hurt my knee, and like the attention got taken away from the birthday boy, and like everybody was making sure I was okay, and I'm like, I'm fine. It hurts, but I'm fine. Like go play with the birthday kid. Like he was also my friend. His name was Mayor. Shout outs to him. So I feel bad, and then like years later.
On his birthday.
I know. And then years later, I tried ice skating, and I find that so much easier than roller skating for some reason. I don't know. It's just like I my first time ice skating, never fell. I never busted my ass.
Wow. I do think that the quad skates, it's a lot easier to roll back and fall on your ass than it is on figure skates, because you've got like, I don't know, the weight distribution is a lot more central, I think, and you can stand up straight in figure skates and not like fall back, where I've found, with the quads, if you stand up straight, you're like, you know, the back wheels really start going. So I don't blame you. Yeah, that sounds common.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's continue on to like the actual stuff. Let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us, where did you grow up, and how would you describe the musical background of your childhood?
Well, I grew up in a really boring town called Maidenhead in Berkshire. It's quite nice now, but at the time it wasn't. Though it's since been gentrified. It was a decent enough place to grow up. There wasn't really a whole lot to do, but I just kind of, you know, Reading wasn't that far away, and I skated at Slough, which was just down the M4. And when I was a teenager, I ended up going to Reading College, and then I later moved to Reading. That was my first flat. But I kind of stayed in that area because it was quite close to London, and it worked for my career that was happening at the time. And my musical background, God, it was really varied. My music sort of education came from my mum, who's got a great taste. She actually moved to the UK because she had such a great love for the sort of British invasion bands of the 60s. She's a huge fan of the Beatles, but then later on became a big lover of David Bowie and the Stones and, a bunch of people like that. And punk as well, you know, the Clash and the Sex Pistols and stuff like that. So I kind of, I got my education of classic rock through her, but then also like 90s music, because that was, the post-punk of the 80s, I guess, was her era mostly. And then she became a mum in the mid-90s. So she just has a really eclectic music taste, and I sort of adopted that. And so outside of kind of loving what was happening before the millennium, I also hit that kind of, the mid-teenage years around the time that the emo boom was happening in the mid-2000s. And I started singing when I became obsessed with Paramore as a 15-year-old, because I think that's a very common story for most girls of that era who were a little bit more on the alternative end of the culture spectrum. I just thought she was so cool. And I also really loved, you know, like I listened to Fall Out Boy, and I listened to My Chemical Romance, and later on I got really into 21 Pilots. But that sort of mixed in with the kind of, like the Aerosmith and the Alanis Morissette and the Blind Melon and all of the stuff that I was listening to, you know, from the taste that I adopted from my mum. So it's all kind of in the world of alternative rock. Though I do, you know, I've been bopping to Chapel Roan recently. I think she's great. I also love Doechii. Like the stuff that's happening in pop right now is really cool. So I've got a place in my heart for pop and rap as well. But it's a mix.
Yes, it is. Yeah. As a proud Patreon member, I also get access to the playlist that you've made, and I'm assuming that's like your playlist. And as part of research for the past 2 weeks, I think, I've been listening to not only just your music, but also that playlist. By the way,
cool.
Great thing to listen to on a run. But you have been turning me on to Blind Melon, and this is before like I really like super dove into a lot of research of like looking up past interviews and like whatever, right? And already before that, you were like, your playlist was turning me on to Blind Melon. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're really good. And then I come later to know that they're one of your favorite bands. And I'm like, of course it is, because of how good it is. And I'm like, this is great. So I've been very much enjoying your music, but also your playlist, which of course you can only get if you're a Patreon member. Hashtag not an ad. Go do that if you want.
That's true. It's a good fun place.
Did you have any, I'm sure you have, any instruments growing up in the household?
Yeah, well, we didn't have that much. My dad had a beat up guitar that I picked up every so often, but I could never really get it. Like, it was such a thick neck, the guitar, that I could never really do it right. And so later on, I think I got a ukulele, and it was, that was it. Yeah. So my first instrument that I ever had, it was a little tin can ukulele that I got in Shoreditch, I think. And it literally was like an oil can that had been repurposed to be a ukulele.
That's so cool.
And I still have it. In fact, I'll show it to you.
Please.
It's right here. There it is.
Oh yeah, I've seen that in some of the Patreon videos. I love that so much. It's so
Isn't
cool.
it cute?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in tune. Oh wait. No, it's not. I mean, that's terrible. But yeah, that's my first ever instrument, because it was just significantly easier to play than anything else on the planet. But, though I think hardcore ukulele fans would drawn quarter me for saying that, because you can make them very complicated. But yeah, they're a good gateway instrument. And then later on, I got like a MIDI keyboard that I could plug into my computer, and I started producing that way.
Right.
So yeah, it was very gradual. I mostly sang, and I could hear the instrumentation in my head, but I would have to sort of explain it to my bandmates and say, this is what I mean, and I would sing the part, and then they would very cleverly work it out.
Yeah.
And that was how I wrote most of my songs up until the past couple of years.
Right. I've also taken upon myself I try my best to do as much research as possible with every guest, right? Like I said, looking up past interviews and like reading up on you, listening to your music, whatever. But because this like just talking to you means so much to me, I wanted to already, but I made extra sure I did, to read up as much as I can of all your posts on Patreon. Now, there's a lot.
Wow, thank you so much. That's so thoughtful.
Of course.
Like I've had a few interviews where they sort of come in and they don't know a damn thing, and they just want to talk about one thing, and it's quite, it's a bore. But it's really nice to chat to you, and it's clear that you care. It's lovely. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Now, I will say I haven't gone through all of them, because you have like over 300 over the past few years. But I did make sure that I know I've read the first 2.5 years, I think, since 2018, and the last maybe 2 years-ish, give or take a few months. I know in one of them, for one of your songs, I don't remember which one specifically, because there was a lot of information overload, whatever. You were working with one of your bandmates about specific bass line, and you were having trouble like making a certain bass line for one of your songs, or for one project or something. It might be Dear Ocean, maybe.
Okay.
And just you describing that process of you and him going back and forth, and you're like, no, that's not it, try again. Like, he was okay with you saying go again and again and again.
Yeah.
Like, that type of insight to like how you create your songs is incredible. And I think it's like it's that collaboration part aspect too that's like so much fun. Like, you're doing it with your friends. It's just like, it's really cool to me. Like, you have this love for music and this love for creativity and making stuff, that you still find a way to like make the thing that's in your head that you want to produce. It's just really cool.
Sure. Oh, thank you so much.
Of course. And I consider myself a little bit of a musician. Like, I play the saxophone, the ocarina, I'm learning the bass and stuff. So I can like also kind of understand some aspects of that too, I think. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I for the longest time, until actually quite recently, felt like an imposter, because I was not particularly strong at a specific instrument. Like, I can get a song out of a guitar, I can get a song out of a piano, but I'm definitely more predominantly a writer, vocalist, producer. There are plenty of producers that don't even touch the desk. And I really wanted to learn how to engineer as well as produce. Because I just, it's a point of insecurity to sort of say I'm a musician, and then when someone gives you a guitar, not really be able to do anything with it, So it means a lot to hear that, because it took a while to break out of that kind of headspace. Like I don't belong, in the studio. Like I write songs, but I'm not really, like I'm just pretending, and it's I think it's quite easy with any creative to just kind of feel like you're dossing about and not doing anything particularly like meaningful, or, you think, oh, someone else could do this so much better than me. But like, it's just, that's not helpful thinking. And everyone's voice deserves to be heard, and everyone's sort of insides need to be expressed if you feel like you've got something to express. And it doesn't matter how it happens, and it doesn't matter if art is subjective, and one person might say, oh, that's crap, and another person will say that's genius, and it's just about kind of clearing out all of the noise and just doing your work.
And I definitely want to dive deeper into the whole production, producer, director aspects of that you do, but we will get there. And I just wanted to touch upon that a little bit, like put a pin on it, right? What was the first band or musician that really got your attention when you were young? Or was it Paramore, like you mentioned?
Who was it? Honestly, I think it was Blind Melon. They're the first band that I can remember really appreciating. Like, that you have some childhood memories that stick out, right? And I think I must have been maybe 13, maybe 12 or 13. And I just remember driving in the back of my Nana's car when we were visiting her in Massachusetts. And I had my dad had one of them blue iPods. It was like, it kind of was as chunky as a phone. It was, it wasn't like the first one.
Yeah.
It was maybe an iPod. It was like the skinnier one, not a mini, but it was like the one that came in between.
Right.
And he gave it to me because he got something that was better. And so I had all of his music on there, but I also put some of my mom's music on there. It was like right as I was discovering my own taste.
Right. And
I wasn't just listening to whatever was, playing out the radio or, through a CD that someone else had put on. And I just remember listening to the self-titled Blind Melon album on this drive in Massachusetts, and just like the sun was shining, and I felt, it was like such a peaceful, wonderful time. And it was the first time I noticed harmony, and it was the first time I actually noticed passion in a vocal. And I think that was probably it. Yeah. And then later on listening to Ignorance, by Paramore at my friend's house, because I'd never heard a girl, I mean, she was a girl at the time, she was a teenager, but I've never heard a woman or someone who sounded like me have that much bite, and do it as good as the rest of them, because I hadn't had much of an education by that point, as far as I guess women are concerned, because there were plenty of them before Hayley Williams. But I guess she was my introduction.
I like that you've already touched upon certain memories when it comes to music, and we'll get there after this next question, but I love that you're just setting things up for me. Do you remember the
Sorry,
first...
I do have the tendency to waffle on.
No, I love this so much. Don't even apologize, please. Do you remember the first physical music you've owned that was yours? First CD, first vinyl, first cassette?
Well, the first thing I bought was not the first CD that I claim as my first CD. The first CD that I think of as my first CD, I stole from my sister because I liked it so much, and I thought, well, she's not going to miss it. She did, but I didn't tell her where it was.
Do you still have it?
It was Evanescence, Fallen, and I do still have it. It's under my bed.
Does your sister know?
The first CD I bought was Fame by Lady Gaga.
Fame by Lady Gaga. Does your sister know where it is now? I guess she will if she listens to this episode.
She will, if she listens to this. I'm sure I've told her.
Well, this next question requires a bit of context. So please bear with me. So I am a producer and audio engineer at WGCU, a NPR PBS station in Southwest Florida. And we have this other show called 3 Song Stories where we tell people's biography through music. The guest comes in and they pick 3 songs that every time they listen to these songs, they immediately get transported back to a time and place that they have a significant story associated with it. It could be like a serious story, it could be a funny story, like an anecdote, or like something that's like super important that they just remember clearly with this song. I want to ask you, you've already touched upon one song story, but I want to ask you, do you have a song story off the top of your head that you're willing to share?
God, I have so many. I guess the first one that comes to mind, when Sam, my partner, and I were first like not even admitting to each other that we liked each other, we were doing music, like little cute covers. Like he used to post covers to YouTube with his acoustic guitar, and it was around this time that I was starting to sing and work out what I liked and what I could do. And so we got together. Well, I can say all kind. Well, the first song that I sent him was a cover of Creep by Radiohead, but which I guess could have scared him off, but it didn't. But the other song that comes to mind, the first song we did together was Long Distance Call by Phoenix. And we recorded that, and actually My Heart by Paramore. And we recorded those songs at our friend's house. And it was on this day that when we recorded these 2 songs that we were in our friend's kitchen talking about like teenage stuff, and I got the courage to ask him if he liked anyone, because I really liked him at this time, and I thought that I was getting kind of vibes back, but I wasn't sure, and so I asked him if he liked anyone. And he said that he did, but he said, I do, but he lost his nerve. And he said, yeah, but she, and I said, oh, do I know her? And he was like, no, she goes to Newlands, which I did not go to Newlands. And so my heart just sank. And I was so upset. But I was like, it's fine. And, you're an insecure teenager. You think, of course, he doesn't like you. Like, you're a loser. And then I think he kind of felt that kind of, I was like, sad. And so I went home, and then he called me like the next day asking if he wanted to go to High Wycombe on Saturday, which was after, like, every Saturday I used to go to like a dance thing, like a stage school singing, dancing thing in the mornings on Saturdays. And so I was like, yeah, cool, that's fine, let's do that. I put my big girl pants on, and I thought, we're friends and I really like his friendship, so let's just like, put my platonic hat on. Like, I don't want to ruin that. And so after the dance thing, I like run into the bathroom, because you have to like wear a leotard and like your hair is up, and I was like, run into the bathroom, take my hair out, brush it, and like put some actual clothes on and go out. And so we hung out, and I didn't realize that was actually our first date, but he took us to lunch. He bought me like this cute little toy from a charity shop, and it like made a dumb noise, and it was funny. And we like walked around the town, and then we went back to his house. We had pizza, and then we went upstairs, and it was then that he asked me to go out with him, to which I was like, fucking duh. Yes, I will go out with you.
Oh, that is beautiful. Oh my god, it's probably one of the best song stories we've had on the show. Oh, I love that so much. How does that song fit into your life today?
I never listen to it. It's not on my playlist. I frequently forget it exists.
I love that. Sorry, that got me. Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about the music that you do make other than covers and such. Your music blends alt rock and pop with a raw, powerful energy. What drew you initially to this type of sound, and how do you think your sound has evolved over time? I'm sure, like, you've already mentioned, like, Paramore before, of finding out, you can have some bite to music. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, just I think kind of the person that I am and the topics of the songs that I choose to write about. Yeah, I guess I just really love the feeling of throwing my head around and, rocking out. I love those sounds. I love the feeling that it can give you listening to those sounds.
Right.
I love taking up that space, where it's been so kind of dominated by men for as long as rock has really been around. It's been actually in more recent years it's equaled out, even though we don't really see that on the lineups. But so many women and genderqueer people make rock now. It's such cool. Those songs come from such cool perspectives. It's different, and I think it's just I'm naturally a quite confrontational creator because I'm not a particularly confrontational person. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I avoid confrontation in life, so I really embrace it in art.
Right.
Because I think it's important to draw attention to things that need attention, that are ignored or brushed under the carpet or discouraged unfairly, by the powers that be. Or, I think there's so much value in critical thinking and critical art. Because often people are, they do kind of shy away from confrontation. And, it's people shouldn't just be fighting each other. I mean, God, we see it on social media all the time. It's exhausting. But, at least in the safe little bubble of a song, you can do whatever you want, say whatever you want, and be whoever you want.
And speaking of that, the topics you've explored or your songs have a lot of emotional depth and energy to them, right? I do know the answer to what I'm about to ask because of what I've read from the Patreon, from what you've written. But I just want to ask for the general audience, do you write from personal experiences, or do you like to take inspiration from other sources?
A bit of both.
Yeah.
Largely personal experiences, mostly personal experiences. But every so often, it'll be about, well, I mean, my recent song, Oedipusy, was an experience of my friend, and just the issue of misogyny and relationship abuse as a whole. So that was about someone outside of myself. I guess Preacher is a commentary on politics. Yeah, I guess the rest of them, though, well, Poser is about the music industry. But yeah, the rest I think are about me.
Yeah.
Just because I first started writing music because I needed to express myself, because up to that point I had just been reading the lines other people had written, and I didn't really feel like I was being creative in that. I just felt like a dog doing tricks. So it was nice to pick music and use it like a diary.
Yeah, of course. And what's your usual songwriting process like? Do you start with lyrics, melodies, something else? I know sometimes, like from what I've read, like sometimes you have this kind of rough idea of how something you want to sound, but until you find that bass line of, like, not the actual bass, but like, find that instrumentation or this kind of chord or whatever, then everything else starts falling in place.
Yeah. Honestly, it varies song by song. I think typically, or at least historically, I've written the vocal line and then put the instrumentation under it. But then I kind of learned how to make really rudimentary bass lines and drum beats and very simple productions that I could then send to professional or my friends who could play guitar and drums and stuff. But it depends, really. I mean, Poser began as a bass line. Preacher began as a drum beat. Oedipusy was guitar. Cold Water was synth first. Yeah, it depends. Song by song.
Understood. I do want to take this moment and talk more about your songs and at least how I feel about them, because I know you said this in a previous interview where something you like to do with your music is you like to have your music be in a way of like the listener won't know exactly where it's going sometimes, like it changes, right? Like there's a change up usually in the middle or towards the end, or like somewhere within the song there's a change up for a bit and then it goes back to how it was. And I absolutely love that. Like there's I really find it so cool when I'm listening to a song and it's actually like 2 or 3 different songs within a song. You know, like my first example is like Automatic by the Pointer Sisters, because that's like a whole thing in itself. You know, there's so many layers in that. But I think with your music, now my favorite songs are like Antidotes and Broke and Pity Party, right? Like those are, all of your songs are fantastic, but like I think those are my top 3.
That's a great top 3, a very varied top 3.
Yeah, thank you. There's just something about the change-ups that are there. It's just like it keeps me from falling into a place where when I listen to music and I'm just like, it's not disrupting my vibe, but it's making sure that I'm always listening, if that makes sense. Like when I listen to lo-fi, for example, or like a song that I've listened to for forever, like I don't know. My favorite band is The Temptations, right? My favorite song is Treat Her Like a Lady, My Girl, whatever. When I listen to those songs, I can play them and like I can just zone out and not necessarily get lost in the song, but like zone out, and I'm just like at a peaceful peace of mind. When I'm listening to your music, there's something about it, and it probably is because of this change within the songs where it prevents me from just lulling out and not consciously thinking or listening. So therefore I'm always paying attention, and not saying like it's always demanding. No. It's like it's keeping me intrigued all the time. Does that make sense? That's a lot of things to say about like a song. I'm sorry.
No, it does make a lot of sense, and it's exactly what I hoped for. You know, I think at least for me, how I enjoy music, I just sort of put it on and I don't want to do anything else. I just kind of listen and I let the images happen. You know, and so I really, when making my own music, I wanted to create like a journey for the listener. And something that they could, you know, it had peaks and it had valleys and it had lefts and it had rights. You know, I really wanted to, keep, you know, I guess just take them on a journey. And I think it's very easy also, like people of our generation, our attention is commodified. And, you know, it's so hard to focus. And I think it's a kind of almost a symptom of our generation as well, to make music that does take lots of different choices, because it does keep your attention when we haven't learned the skills of stillness yet.
Of course.
But yeah, thank you for saying that. That's great to hear.
Yeah, of course. No, that also goes to show, or that also extends to what you're saying in your songs. You know, like the actual message behind each of them. Like I've listened to every single one of your songs. I'm not going to pretend that I know that I truly understand all the intricacies and the message that you are leaving behind, because you know I'm not super well versed in music and stuff, you know, right? But at least, you know, with obvious examples like Eat a Pussy and Preacher, and upon reading or doing my research, some of the stuff that you've talked about of inspiration behind songs like, was it Cold Water, and Pity Party? Like there are some stories that you've shared that really hits hard, you know? I'm gonna be open with you because I want to be, because I have that mutual trust and I have that respect that I feel like you will also be attentive and care.
Sure, yeah.
I'm getting the two confused because they're both water related. Dear Ocean, Cold Water. And so of course,
Dear Ocean, that was about CF. Cold Water is the recent one. That's the synthy kind of like poppy one. And Pity Party, if we're entering the topic of mental health, is also very about that.
Right. Afterlife. That's what it was. That's the. That's what
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
thinking
So that's a very
specifically
old
too.
one, and
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
more spiritual, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
That, and this is not to take away from anything else from
Mm.
Deep Water and Dear Ocean, or Cold Water and
Sure.
Dear Ocean. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
When I was reading the post, and of course, if you want me to cut any of this out, I will. When I was
Yeah,
reading
okay.
the post of about Afterlife and like the inspirations
Hmm.
about that with your grandma and stuff like that, right
Mm.
now I'm also kind of dealing something about my grandma.
Oh,
She
I'm
like
sorry to hear that.
thank you. She's been in and out of the hospital since
Mm.
Christmas. Shortness of breath and stuff like that, fluids in her lungs or whatever, heart problems.
Yeah.
Last week she just had a surgery to get a pacemaker on.
Oh, okay.
Which we thought was okay, great. Here's a solution. Hopefully everything's gonna be fine. But
Yeah.
after she went home, so throughout this past week,
Yeah.
she's like been out of it, like loopy kind of, I think,
Mm.
not able to like physically get up or whatever. And my dad and my
Mm.
grandpa like can't help her up. So they took her
Oh.
back to the hospital, and now I found out, wasn't last night, but like the night before, that she has Alzheimer's, or some form of
Oh.
Alzheimer's. So
Is it quite progressed, or is it just the very beginning stages of it?
I think it's the very beginning stages of it.
Yeah.
My dad called me like 9 p.m. like the other night to tell me about this. So I don't really have all the information, but
Mm.
he was saying that she can still remember like my dad, my grandpa, my stepmom, stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's like early stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really close with my grandma. So this was also the time when I was reading through your posts, and I read that one
Mm.
about Afterlife, and I'm like, holy shit, that's like, it's hitting me. I know, like, I know I still have my grandma, but like like
Yeah.
thinking about this or what's going on, I'm also thinking like, maybe not for long,
Yeah.
so reading your story and reading about Afterlife, as soon as I read it, I put on the song again, right? Because this was not, I've already listened through your entire discography. Then I read
Yeah.
this and I'm like, oh, okay. I put it on again, and it made me change how
It made you
I'm
get it. Yeah.
perceiving what you're saying through this song, what you're expressing. And
Mm.
I think it's helping me too a bit. So
Oh, that's so good to hear.
on one hand, so one thing, thank you. And two, I see that, and I appreciate that,
Mm.
and just thank you for like doing what you do. I'm gonna stop myself from rambling too much.
Oh, dude, thank you so much for that, and I'm so sorry that you're going through it right now. I'm sure that, God, I can't imagine how difficult it must be to have a family member with Alzheimer's. It's something that's in Sam's side of the family, and it happens so frequently to his like uncles and stuff that they almost joke about it, like they're all, I wonder when my brain's get, it's like, it's so it, and I mean, it's kind of reassuring because obviously I'm worried about Sam if
Right.
it's that prevalent in his family, and it is something that I've thought about. But God, dude, I'm so sorry. That really
appreciate
sucks,
that.
and
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you feel that Afterlife is helping in some way. It's tough, isn't it? When your loved ones get old.
Yeah, I don't think it's like fully hit me yet. It probably will when I see her.
Yeah.
Because I haven't, like, she's
Have you not seen her since?
no, I haven't seen her since Christmas because she's like 2-3 hours away from me.
Sure. Yeah.
So and I haven't had the time nor money to like make the trip up until now. So that's why I'm doing that. But yeah, I don't mean to like bring the conversation down, but I'm
No, it's cool. I mean, that's what this is about, right?
yeah, connecting, right?
Yeah.
So I think the original point I was trying to make, like the things that you express through your music are important. The things that you're saying through your music, and how much of or from your life you're taking from your own personal experiences and pouring it into this creative outlet to not only share for everybody else in the world, to also like maybe it affects other people, like it's affecting me, in a good way. But like this is probably, you know, also a good outlet for you to also, you know, help you through the motions as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's sort of the nature of music, isn't it? It's like evolutionary. You know, it's something that it's one of our oldest crafts. You know, we were making music when all we had were sticks.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's like it heals something in you. It's been very nurturing, like to make it, and also just in my life listening to certain songs have just they just are magical.
Yeah. So that pin that we set up later, I want to take it out and like talk about it now, about production, about how you produce, direct, and like you wear so many hats for your own music, which is crazy. Not only do you make it, but like you do like so many parts of it, and it's crazy. You are involved in every part of your music production. Just a quick basic answer, or quick basic question, like what is the most satisfying part of the process for you?
Oh, the end.
Yeah. When it's done.
When it's out, I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't know. I love I do so much of it because I just love every part of it. I know that's such a lame answer, but I love it. I love writing it. I love getting in the studio and producing it. I think I'm most comfortable in the music video stage, like directing, like visuals. I love editing. Like I edit all my videos, and it's just so satisfying to like do a really cool editing choice and like watch the playback and be like, oh yes, that looks so good. But I don't know. It's I think the creative process, I adore. The industry and the release and everything that happens after, I hate. I detest that part, but everything that happens before release, I adore.
And you're basically self-taught, at least before you went to study at Abbey Road, right?
Yeah.
Which is also like, that's to your credit too, you know, like picking this up by yourself.
Thank you.
For the most part, and just going through the growing pains of becoming a producer in all aspects. And I also feel the same way. Like I can also relate, because this show that's been going on for 5 years now is of my creation, right? I am not only the producer and the host, but I'm the editor. I do the graphics. I do social media. Like I also do every aspect for, right? But like, of course I have my team, my crew, my co-hosts, but like I tell them specifically, you're just here to have fun. You're the talent, right? Don't worry about everything else. That's our deal. I'll take care of everything else, and that's fine. But like, it's also fun for me. We're doing this because we love to do it. We're not making money off of this. This is all purely for fun. You know?
I would have given up a long time ago if I was doing this for money.
Right? Especially for like how long it takes for like you to actually even get anywhere. You know, like we're just getting some traction. I'm really like super happy about it. But this all started with like just like a general interest. Like my stepdad, he's an audio engineer. He's produced albums for Shakira, Pitbull, both Estefans and stuff, right? So I've always grown up in a studio, like no matter what. So I've always seen audio production, and I've always had like a kind of interest. And it wasn't until I got to college and I entered like the media program at the college I went to, and that's where this show started. And 4 years later we became independent, and 1 year later we're here now. Wow. So throughout that process, it's like, okay, how do you manage like 4 other people to come in every week to record a thing? How do you want it to sound? You know, it's all these different little things. All these little details stack up into like this one big thing that most people won't even think about. And also like the consistency, right? We've released an episode every single week for 5 years. It's a lot of work. And
that is a lot of work, man.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't love it. You know, so having a creative
that's such
outlet.
A credit to your character, and you know, just dedication for 5 years, uploading something every week, all the work that must go into it. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's also why like I am proud to say that like we have a massive backlog of episodes. That's why I'm able to tell you right now, like this is releasing in May and we're recording this in March. But like that, and that also helps. It's a lot of work at the beginning, so then you can like take your time later and like really spread things out. And there's something about that I absolutely love. And like throughout the years, right? Getting back to like the self-teaching bit and getting better as you go, because you definitely have. I've managed to land a job at an NPR PBS radio and TV station where I'm a producer and audio engineer for. And the tricks I've learned along the way not only helped me here at my job, but also here on the show and stuff, you know, like it's a give and take type of thing. And it's like, I'm ever constantly improving and it's fun. Like I love what I do and I'm going to keep doing it until I can't. And I'm sure you can relate to that.
Oh God, yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, at least with music, a huge reason why I wanted to go learn is so I could be more self-sufficient and productive, and I could, you know, make stuff from home. Because before I was sort of relying on other people, and you know, if you can't predict everyone else to be able to sit on your schedule,
of
you know,
course.
Especially if you want to be like, let's do this, and this. I want 5 songs by the end of the month, you know, like it's not realistic. People have lives. Yeah. So it's nice to, it's nice to be able to be really productive. And I totally get what you mean. And I will be doing it until I am in my grave.
Do you have like a makeshift audio studio in your house?
I mean, kind of. I am building the studio right now. Fortunately, I've been saving up for a new computer, and I think I'll be able to do it in a couple of weeks, or in a few weeks' time, like at the end of the spring. But I have like a mic shield, like a really good one, and a mic that Sam actually got for free that I stole. Cool. But it's very good. I like it. I've got my monitors that my friend Jim, and the producer of Oedipus Broke and Cold Water, he gave me his old monitors, which has been really good. Yeah, I've got a few little things.
Yeah, and it's growing.
Dotted around. It's
getting better as time goes on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm accumulating a very small little studio.
Yeah, and I love that. In terms of soundproofing, and I know, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, you know, blankets, clothes, carpets, squishmallows. Go a long way. I am so serious. Squishmallows are one of the best sound insulators that I've like experienced, period.
I need to get a few. That sounds brilliant.
I have a cat. I'm gonna send you a picture on Discord of my cat. He's adorable. His name is Coke. He's a little black cat.
What is his name?
Coke, as in Coca-Cola.
Coke. Cute.
His whole litter was named after soda. So there was a Pepsi, that was his sister. We wish we've adopted her too, but we didn't. There was a Mountain Dew, there was a Dr. Pepper, there was a Fanta. It was so cute, his whole litter.
That's crazy. That's so cute.
Yeah. I'll send you a picture.
Yeah, please do.
So underneath our bed, we have like, since this is a 1-bedroom apartment, we don't have a lot of space, but my partner, I got her a lot of giant Squishmallows because she likes them and I love her. So, you know, I just spoil her.
Oh, yeah.
So because we don't have a lot of space, we just end up stuffing most of the big ones underneath the bed. Yeah. And of course, cats like going under beds and hiding or whatever for their naps or whatever. There's this one day where I was trying to like find him for whatever reason, you know? And I saw that he was underneath the bed, and I'm like, hi. So I crawl underneath the bed and just like be like, hey, what's up? He immediately leaves because he's like, what are you doing in my space? But I sit there for a minute because he's surrounded by Squishmallows. He was like in the center of the bed, surrounded by these Squishmallows, and I'm like, holy shit! I cannot hear anything outside, and like it's like so clean and it's insane. So
wow,
Squishmallows, man, they take up a lot of space because they're like round, but like they're great insulators.
Yeah. I do have like one round. He's a Highland cow. I got it at a service station. I do have this guy who works. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because I through COVID was recording Dead Island 2 in my in a little box room at the old house. And I literally had to grab every pillow because it was quite a reverberant room. So I had to grab every pillow in the house and like stick it around the wall and record this game. And it was just ridiculous recording a AAA game like in lockdown, like in my pajamas. And a big a part of this game, I mean, you know, it's, if you haven't played the game yet, it's not, you know, play the game. Yeah. I can spoil it now, but this is a spoiler for people who haven't played the game. That a part of this, the playable character is that you kind of, there is like a zombie mode where you do like, it's like a rage move where you like temporarily be a zombie.
Yeah.
And so I had to make loud, disgusting, guttural zombie sounds in a tiny little box room, like facing the neighbors.
Yeah.
It was something, but it was a lot of fun. But fortunately, this was also before I had my pretty great mic shield, which does isolate a lot of sound, so I don't need to worry about that so much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely when I get my hands on a better recording room, yeah, I'm going to be getting all the rock wool out and building my own little isolation absorbers and stuff.
Yeah. Who needs all this like professional sound paneling that I have behind me? All this foam stuff.
Looks brilliant. Yeah. You just need squishmallows.
When you need squishmallows and you have blankets and clothes and whatever, who needs that? Yeah. But yeah, being your own producer, being the person who like makes every single aspect of your art is not only impressive from like the consumer's perspective, like the audience perspective. It shows to your character of like how determined you are willing to be to make the thing work. Yeah, I'm sure you love collaborating, right, with your friends to like make the actual things happen. But like,
I love it.
You're the one also like you're the driving force, and that's incredible.
Sure. Oh, thank you.
Well, you mentioned voice acting. I think that's a good way to pivot and continue that just for a little bit. I'm going to touch upon acting in general. Okay. You started acting at the age of 10, and you have worked in film, TV, theater, and more. I just want to ask, how did that early experience shape your approach to performance in general? Stage performance for your shows or just further acting jobs?
I guess it taught me how to be fine with being observed. Like I didn't really care too much about, like I could just let loose on stage because I at a very young age got used to acting a fool in front of people. And so I've never really been that. Have I ever been? I've been nervous for gigs only in that I was worried about my voice. I was never really. I've never really been worried about crowd sizes or anything like that. Like if there's nobody in the room, I just kind of view it as an observed band practice. But if there's more people in the room, that's fucking brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's probably the main thing that I learned is just to not really mind that I was being watched. It sounds like a very silly thing to, like, I know a lot of people, they go up on stage and they perform and they just have this extreme fear of being observed. What are you doing on stage then? But they do it because they just have to express, and you get over it eventually. But I was fortunately able to skip over that obstacle.
Right. I'm sure it's similar to like hearing your own voice for the first time, like getting over that. Yeah, definitely. I remember, at least when I was going through that really awkward adolescent age where you don't look like a little kid anymore, but you don't look like an adult anymore. And you're like really uncomfortable in your body and you feel like you're the weirdest thing to ever exist. And I remember sort of seeing myself on screens then and being mortified. Like I just straight up wouldn't watch some things. But I think that's just, it was just a symptom of my age and feeling like I was to this or to that, Right. I do understand what you mean. You've been in Torchwood, The Pillars of the Earth, Skellig, Xenoblade 2, Dead Rising 2. Do you have a favorite role? I know that's a very, very like standard, obvious question that most interviewers ask, but I think what I really want to know, which role has had a lasting impact on you?
I mean, Dead Island 2 was super fun.
Yeah.
But a role that had a lasting impact. I think I was in this little movie called Skellig when I was 13, I think. And I really loved that character. The character that I played felt very me. She was bohemian and she was into art and philosophers. And, she was far too deep a thinker for her age, very a character of literature. But when you're 13 you feel like you know everything, so I really liked her, and I feel I identified with her, and you know, I remember when the shoot was over, one of the producers, who I'm still friends with today, and she's actually one of the few friends that I made during that time in my life that I've kept. She's like a sort of, she's always been a big sister kind of energy. She gave me this huge bin bag. It was actually like, I went to the production office and it was about 4 or 5 bin bags of Mina, the character's wardrobe.
Oh my God.
And to be, you know, 13 and just get 5 bin bags full of really cool clothes, because the wardrobe was really cool. They weren't like expensive clothes, but they were, you know, colorful and bohemian and fun. And I ended up wearing those clothes for years. And I really think that those clothes that I got kind of shaped the sort of style that I would end up having as an adult.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Mina was probably the most impactful character.
I love that so much. Do you still have those clothes?
Do I? I might have a shawl.
Yeah.
But you know, I grew out of them.
Yeah.
Most of them. But I might still have like a jacket or two.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. To emphasize the amount of creativity you have, you don't like limit yourself to just music, and of course not just acting in general, but you also have a novel that you're writing on, and also a TV series that will be in production later. But at least to talk a little bit about the novel right now, you've been working or thinking about this for over a decade.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about it? What was the initial spark that made you want to write this story? And also, this is like a 3-pronged question, I'm sorry, but also like, why also dive into writing as well as the other art forms you already tackle?
I've always loved writing. In fact, one of the first observations that my year 2 teacher, so I guess 3rd grade for you, or 1st grade, I don't know. She said that I was a writer, because even, you know, at being like 7 or 8, I just really, really, really loved writing and making up stories. And when I was a kid, I have 2 siblings. I have 2 sisters, but they're much older than me. They're my half sisters from my dad's previous relationship. So I was kind of an only child. Like I saw them on weekends, but during the week I was just by myself. So a lot of the games that I would just make up games by myself, and I would have like figures or Barbies, or, you know, I would just draw or write. You know, I spent a lot of time by myself and with my imagination. And so I kind of, and I was also obsessed with films. Like I loved watching TV. I loved movies. And so and in addition to all that, when I would go to bed, my mum would put on Harry Potter audiobooks. So like I've been submerged in narrative for my entire life.
Yeah. And
so writing has always come quite naturally. And the thing that sparked Property of a Psychopath specifically, and the show that I'm, you know, working title is Immortals, which is the show inspired by the book, but set in the perspective of a different character in the book, was honestly anger. So Janie, the protagonist of the novel, she's a psychopath. She's crazy. She's a contract killer. But she was sort of born out of a frustration that I had at the time, which would have been, God, I mean, I must have been 17, 18, when my career, you know, I was no longer like the cute little girl actor, who could play a really good victim. You know, I had become a really cynical teenager who was into like punk, and I also, you know, was starting to care more about music and having a social life and that shit that you care about when you're a teenager. And so I wasn't really that focused on my career. So, you know, it obviously wasn't going to carry into my 20s because I just didn't give it the care and attention that I needed to give it. But obviously, being an immature 17, 18-year-old, you blame everyone else but yourself. And so I was like, the casting directors are lazy. All of the scripts are shit. And to be honest, all of the scripts were shit that I was getting sent. Like, it was just, oh God, all of the characters that I was being sent were just like tools to further progress the storyline of some either male protagonist or, you know, I was just like, there was nothing complex about the character. She was just kind of boring and traditional, right, or stereotypical, you know, stuff like that. And it was frustrating, especially because at that age, the world is starting to treat you differently. You know, I'm born in this body, I'm developing, and the world is going to treat me like shit now, you know? And it just makes you very angry. And especially if you feel like you're, you know, people contain multitudes. And Janie was born out of this fascination of, God, what if, you know, somebody who at face value looks like a villain and is a villain, has very villainous characteristics. How can I make someone root for a villain? How can I make someone seem, you know, based on their upbringing, based on their moral, like, you know, is she ethically ambiguous? What is her moral compass like? Is she a dick to children and animals, or does she only treat children and animals with respect and everyone else like shit? You know, like, how can I make this character somebody that the reader will root for? Right. And it was just it was a cool, and also, you know, a character that I might be able to play one day, you know, the one complex character that I wish someone will send me to audition for. Why don't I just write her? And so, from then until now, I've just been kind of mulling over this character and, you know, who are the people in her life? What is the path that she's been on? What brought her to this point? Like, you know, she's deeply flawed, deeply, deeply flawed. But there's a lot about her that I like, and there's a lot about her that I want to fix over the course of her journey. And, you know, not, you know, make her a completely different person, but just make her healthy. Right. Or somebody who is self-aware at the very least, you know, who might not die perfect, because who does, but who at least you've been with, you know, and watched evolve. You know, I just, heroes, I think we have enough stories about heroes. It would be cool to write a story about, you know, a bunch of underdogs sort of banding together. Because also, I think, I'm sorry, I could talk about this for hours.
No,
I will condense.
No, please, go ahead.
The overarching theme of this story is basically America is run by a corporate oligarchy, which was a completely inconceivable notion 10 years ago. And so as soon as, you know, we get our new president, and even, you know, during his first presidency, seeing how people changed and seeing how the economy changed and seeing how, you know, just the politics became a soap opera, and just seeing how they're not even hiding it anymore, you know, with the AI video that he posted on Twitter and the fucking gold card, you know, he's just going to straight up say, oh yeah, you know, if you have $5 million, you can buy a green card. It's just like, everything's become so f***ed. And I thought back to this story and thought, you know, it's the time now to write it. And I've become a better writer since first conceiving of this story. I feel like I'm a more mature person. Like I feel like I can craft it in a way that is not soapboxy, and it's something that has, you know, it understands as much as it can rather than driving one sole narrative. You know what I mean? Like it's something that I think can sell now, whereas before I don't think it could. So that's what I've been doing with my time.
Yeah, and I love that. It's another example of, like, you have something to say, and here's another outlet for you to express that with. From what I'm gathering and from what I have read from the Patreon, I haven't read all of them, but I've read a couple. I see it as, you know, what we already mentioned about with your music. You know, there's as we've discussed already within the songs, it's not like the same formulaic stuff that we hear all the time. It's not just like 1 2 1 2. There's this change up. There's something unique about it, and I feel like with this novel, that's that kind of structure novelized, like written down with words. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, I look back on I've been referring back to the novel while I've been writing, or referring back to the diary form of the novel while writing the actual traditional prose version of it. Right. And even, I mean, the version that you've read, I wrote 10 years ago. Right. Like, I wrote that when I was kind of an idiot. And so I I'm reading it and I think, oh, like, I'm not going to take that. I'm going to leave that there.
Yeah.
Or I'll like elaborate on one little thing that I thought of, back then. Because I think Janie is a more interesting person than she was in the diary form. So thank you, and knowing that you found value in the swill that I posted on Patreon it means a lot, and it means that I really hope that you enjoy the updated version even more.
I'm sure I will, and I'm very much looking forward to it. You have a tendency to do some pretty fun, exciting things on your birthday, and this doesn't matter because this episode comes out a few days after your birthday, but at least for people who don't know and might want to look back into it, do you have anything special planned for this year?
There is, apparently, but I don't know what it is. So at the point that this show comes out, I will have discovered, but until then, I'm in the complete dark. Everyone knows but me. So I really can't say, but Sam's very good at gifts, and I'm sure it'll be great.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I hope you have a good birthday, and I'll tell you on your actual birthday too.
I hope you do as well.
Thank you.
And I'm sure I'll talk to you before then.
Hell yeah. All right, well, now let's enter the speed round where I'm going to ask you a bunch of silly random questions, and we'll see how you do. You ready?
The real challenge will be answering quickly.
Yeah. You can take your time. It's just called the speed round. If you were the final boss in a video game, what would your title be?
Well, I was wondering about my roller derby name because I haven't thought of one yet.
Yeah.
But when you type in my middle names or my artist name as well, Deva St. John, if you squish the words together and squint your eyes, it kind of looks like devastation.
That's pretty good.
I thought, maybe Devastation would be fun. But if it was like a boss fight, like just a devastation.
Yeah.
How about that?
I love that. No, that totally works. What would your boss theme music be? And you can choose any song from anywhere.
Surprise, You're Dead by Faith No More.
Okay. If you were a superhero, what would your name be? Follow up, what powers would you have?
Janie. No. What powers would I have? I've always thought the power to control water would probably be really cool because it heals, but it can also destroy.
Yeah.
You can freeze it, you can boil it, you can move it. It's in everything.
Yeah.
So you could probably control everything if you can control water. What would the name be though? Powerful water. I think of Leviathan is a powerful water creature, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Leviathan would be cool.
Yeah.
Or Siren, like the mermaids that kill people.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those two.
Cool. So you'd be a waterbender named either Leviathan or Siren. Are you an Avatar fan at all?
No, but that's a big theme of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the four elements you can bend.
Yeah.
If you can live in the world of your favorite childhood show, movie, or video game, which one would it be and why?
Oh, man. If you'd have asked me before J.K. Rowling became a demon, I would have said Harry Potter. But I don't want to say that anymore. It would probably be fun to live in the Sims world.
Okay.
A very zany, quirky, colorful world. I would just need to learn how to get out of pools without ladders being there.
Which character from your childhood favorite show, movie, or game would you most like to have as a friend in real life?
Well, my favorite movie is a movie called Withnail and I. But I think being friends with either Withnail or the Eye would be really stressful. They're very chaotic, but they would also be fun friends. One of my favorite games is a game called Mass Effect. Mm-hmm. So being friends with like Rex or Garrus or what's the other one? Oh, the one that kind of looks like a lizard, Mordin. They'd be fun. They'd be a fun band of friends to have from Mass Effect.
If your current favorite show or movie were to be adapted into a musical, what genre of music would you envision for it?
I kind of view musical music as its own genre.
Oh, okay. Just show
but
tunes.
I guess Yeah, I don't know. A musical with Mel and I would be insane, but very funny. And yeah, I can imagine a musical of that movie would be very like Sound of Music or Book of Mormon, that kind of like traditional musical music.
Right. Okay. If you could attend any fictional event, for example, the Ewok celebration in Star Wars Return of the Jedi, which one would it be and why?
Talent show at Napoleon's high school in Napoleon Dynamite. I would go to that. I would love that.
Talk about cringy teenagers, huh? That would be so fun to watch. Hell yeah.
That would just be delicious. Either that or the pageant at the end of Little Miss Sunshine. That would also be really sweet.
Okay. I love this.
Fictional events. There are so many.
Yeah.
Oh, the fight, the wrestling match in Nacho Libre.
Oh my God.
Would be fun.
That'll be
talking
so
about
fun.
Jared Hess.
Yes.
I'm just thinking of like quirky mid-2000s comedies now. Whip It. We were talking about roller derby.
Oh my God,
the bout in Whip It. That would be fun.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, I would go to all of them. That would be fun.
Love it. If you can have a cameo appearance in any movie or TV show, which one would it be and what role would you play?
Well, I've just been watching Trailer Park Boys, so I'd go play myself in Trailer Park Boys.
Okay. Awesome.
I literally just finished the last season yesterday.
Cool.
It would be fun to be in that. What else? I've also been watching BoJack Horseman. That would be a fun cameo. But all of the other shows, like I always thought how fun it would be to be in Orange is the New Black, but that's cancelled now.
Right.
Yeah. So.
If you had to guess, what would you say is the song you've listened to the most times in your life?
Oh God, it's gonna be one of the something from 21 Pilots. I listen to them a lot, and I listened to them almost religiously like a decade ago. But even like consistently between then and now, I often reach for their music. I wouldn't know what one though. I mean, the oldest album that I've listened to consistently is Vessel, so probably something on there. Probably Holding On to You or Migraine. I love those two. Maybe Kitchen Sink. Yeah, something off that album.
Okay. What activities or pursuits most make you lose track of time?
Writing.
Yeah.
I usually am up at 7 and I write until sometimes 7. Writing, or if I'm having like a less productive day, I can like sit and do like, you know, those coloring books that have just like patterns and flowers and mandalas and stuff. Yeah. I can just sit there and do one of those all day, and I'll just, look at the time and it's been 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. Totally lost in the work. I get it.
Yeah.
What would your 14-year-old self think of who you are today?
Oh man. That's a really tough question because I think she would be proud in many ways and also, as sad as it is to say, disappointed in many ways. But not because I feel like I'm a disappointment, but because I think I was so naive at 14 and I thought that, you know, life was gonna, especially because of like, you know, I was working consistently as an actor at 14. And so I thought, you know, at this trajectory, I'll have my Oscar by 21, you know, and that didn't happen. But I think it's because I prioritized self-discovery over career progression because I wasn't comfortable. And so I wanted to go find something that made me comfortable. Yeah. And I think that's more important than credits.
Of course.
But at 14, I thought that was the most important thing was, you know, making a name for yourself and having a career and becoming famous and being successful and looking after my family because, you know, I'm not from money. And, you know, my parents spent all of my childhood in horrific debt. And so it meant a lot to me to be able to look after them. And it took a long time to accept that I was just on a different path than I thought I was. But at my age now, I've explored so many things and refined so many skills. And I feel like I'm almost intimidated by the options that I have, which is a nice position to be in, but it does make focusing quite difficult. But I'm getting a handle on it now. I'm working out how to like pause and evaluate and work out whether I'm just being impulsive or whether I'm doing something out of like passion and not just out of, like a magpie looking for the next shiny thing, which I spent so many years doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think 14-year-old me would have a lot of questions, but I also think she'd be delighted that I'm still with Sam, because I met Sam when I was 15. Mm-hmm. So at 14 I wouldn't have known him, but she'd be delighted to know that I've been in a happy relationship for this long. I think she'd be happy that my parents are doing well. I think she'd be happy that I've stayed true to myself. I think she'd adore that I have so many friends, because I felt like a loser at 14. I had a few friendships, but nothing as heartfelt and meaningful and lifelong as I have now. And that was the main thing that I wanted. I really wanted like a good group of friends, like people I could really love and rely on. And I have that now. So yeah, I think it would be an interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah, that's all beautiful. And I agree. I think one of the most important things you can do is, or try to figure out, of course, your own identity, like who you are, but like also what makes you happy. Like what are the things that you find important? What do you prioritize? And it's so amazing to not only hear it from you right now, but also to like see that you literally have found that. And you still haven't like lost the love you have for acting. Like you didn't just drop that.
Oh, absolutely
you just
not. Yeah.
shifted your priorities for a bit, and you never forgot about that. But you discovered so much about yourself. That's like, it's incredible. It's very beautiful that you've done that.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, you've made it to the end. It is now time for you to recommend 3 people that you'll share this episode with when it comes out, that you think they'll be a good guest on the show, if you can kind of help me get them on the show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll be sharing this with all of social media. I say that, I'm only actually on Instagram now.
Yeah.
I've managed to cull everything else that's was draining my energy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll share it with Sam, I think, because he's a musician and he's an interesting guy. I think you guys would have a nice chat. I know a few people that I would share it with. I'd definitely share it with Sam. Well, I mean, they're very busy, but I can share it with my friend Jen, who's in a band, and they do really cool political, like, punk music. I can also share it with my friend Megan, who's also a musician, and her music is more like hyper pop, very Ash Nico in theme and also in attitude. So she'd be a lot of fun to have. She's very charismatic and chatty and can hold her own in an interview very well. So I'm sure that would be a breeze for both of you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, we'll do what we can to get them on the show. Just thank you so much for doing this. Like I kept saying, like this means more to me than I can really express or say, just because of, there's that level of like, oh, look, I know you from this game that I love. That's one of my favorite video games of all time. And, I've spent almost 300 hours with you because that's how long it took for me to 100% this game, plus the DLC. Like, yeah, there's that aspect of like, oh my God, there's this person, right?
Yeah.
But also there's the added layer that's above all of that, where like from everything I've known, because I've been following you I've been following you since Xenoblade 2 came out. Maybe not hard, but like, on and off. Like I've always kept tabs, I guess. I've always been a fan of you and your work and like you as a person.
Thank
and
you. Yeah.
I finally, like I said, before we recorded, I think like, I've finally been able to be in the position I am, where I can not only support you, but this also gives me an opportunity to learn more about you with all your Patreon posts and stuff like that,
Yeah.
So discovering even more about you, I feel like I know you. Even that's weird because this is like our first actual conversation. But like,
well, yeah, no, I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, right. And like that's also something that I mentioned before. Like that's the thing I want out of this show for you as a guest and also me. Like I want us to connect to a level where like at the end of this, oh yeah, we can consider ourselves friends because I feel that way because I feel like we've connected, and that's like the whole purpose of what I'm trying to bring from this show. And like, you know,
if I was in a room of people I didn't know and you, I would hang out with you.
Thank you. I like real talk.
And if I was in a room with friends and you, I would hang out with you, you know.
And I appreciate that.
I would just introduce you to my friends.
Yeah. Because, you know, I want to find out more about you and who you are, your interests and stuff like that. You know, like, yeah, I've asked you about your career and voice acting and other acting stuff. That's just like flavor text. The main thing is like who you are, your interests. And I'm so happy that you feel comfortable enough to explore that with me here. And like we had that back and forth, you know. So like, anyways, rambling, right? Thank you so much for coming on and talking with me and having this chat, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. Just thank you so much.
I appreciate that so much, man. Thank you. You know, this has been an absolute joy, and yeah, I'm excited to hear back and chat to you some more.
Yes.
And yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Skye.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. If you want to hear more from Skye, be sure to follow her on Instagram and Facebook, and check out her music on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, and wherever else you get your music. Links to everything will be in the description down below. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at Razdaz Show Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one.
Next time on The Razzle Dazzle Show.
The concept of Pokemon, especially, and like Pokemon's mission statement is like, science is amazing, animals/Pokemon are amazing creatures, we need to work with them. Like, all of that stuff really hit right home for me. So like, you know, I saw this Abra card and I was like, I like this. And so, you know, then I start getting into the cards. It was banned at my elementary school. You weren't allowed to do it because people were getting too crazy over it. It was height of Pokemon fever, 1998, 1997. And then after that, I started watching the anime when it started to come out. Literally, I'm not a morning person. It is literally the only thing that got me out of bed at a reasonable time. What I would do is I would set my clothes out the night before. I would sleep in to the last possible second before I had to leave for school. Put my clothes on, sleep in the car on the way to school, and then I'd be like, okay, fine, I'm awake now. But when Pokemon was on, I would get up the whole half an hour early to be able to watch Pokemon.
Tune in next week.